Good morning, park managers, and welcome back. Today we're going to be making a braided river enclosure with possibly a few little islands in the middle. We'll see how it turns out. Now, the idea of a braided river is like a load of strings of rivers that eventually they do meet up towards the end, but we're probably going to do it in the kind of main bit, so it's not really going to be meeting up at the end. I'm not going to be too bothered with the fact it's raised up slightly as well, where you usually am. So a braided river, we're just going to be using like making loads of little stringy bits here and there that sort of venture off to make it kind of interesting. And then when these gaps here, because we are going to thin this out ever so slightly, because it is a bit much. So we're going to try and gently thin it out, I say, and make all these like little island areas. So I don't want it being too big, because obviously with the river brush is very big in general. Kind of wish we had like a bit of a brush where we can make it slightly smaller. Maybe in the next one, who knows? It doesn't matter too much if you got these little bits of land popping up. Mainly because you could just say it's where it's sort of like not enough water flow. It's where basically the water's like carved into the ground a fair bit, and it's been able to kind of make its own course in a sense without meeting up. Also in like higher rainfall seasons, braided rivers just tend to become one whole river. This is what I mean. I wish there was a bit of a smaller brush, because it's gonna be a little bit awkward. We won't matter too much once we've got some like actual plants in there. It'll kind of hide a bit of our little happy accidents, as it were, and just bring it up a little bit. So we've got like roughly a kind of structure where it's loads of little things, and we're going to be raising the ground in the middle as well, just ever so slightly where the game will allow us to do it. Some areas will be higher than others, but it is what it is, kind of thing, you know. And you can do this for a lot of creatures. It makes like for an interesting one, especially for like if you've got any piscivores and you want to have like a bit of a deeper area, so an area with a bit more water. You can place down a feeder. I haven't even quite decided what I'd put in here. I won't put anything like a Compy or Microceratus, because if you slap them on this island, there might be no way of actually getting onto the main bit. So can we actually add? Yeah, we can. I think we'll probably add a Dinocaris, and I'm going to make this one of my more simpler builds. Whereas a lot of time I'd use like tons of decorations from like different areas. I'm not going to do that for this one, because I know there's still a lot of people that watch this that play on old gen consoles, and I know a lot of people have been asking for that kind of like simpler build videos, because there's a lot that they can't do because you're playing on the older gen. You can't have like mixed terrain plants from the decorations on your builds. It's only newer gen and PC that you can do that on. So yeah, I'm going to try and keep this as my more simpler kind of builds. What I'm doing right now, I'm just adding the rock brush into the water to try and make it look a little bit deeper than it actually is. And this is the thing with builds. They don't have to be absolutely crazy to look good. They can be just simple. Because not everyone has time to place down like over 100 redwood trees and things like that. And it's just nice to be able to use the brush. Now what I'm doing, I'm just adding a bit of this dirt to the edges just to make it look like it's kind of almost dried out a bit, and that's why it's so low. Obviously in these times, plants kind of still grow in these areas pretty well. Some might get washed away when the tides get high. I don't know, do you call it a tide in a river? I'm pretty sure you do. Struggling to remember back to geography. But when the water levels rise, some of those plants will get like washed up and things like that. But you can imagine if it's been a while, plants can grow ridiculously quick. Some can anyways. So it won't matter too much, and at the end of the day, there is no rising water in Jurassic World Evolution. So if you really wanted to kind of sum it up for yourself, you can just say it's man-made. It's a man-made enclosure, and that's the way it is. And yeah, I feel like if you're ever struggling for ideas, like for building enclosures, you're like, well, what do I do? What do I do? Obviously, my videos kind of help. You're going to have a look at those. Or just search up like different land formations and then try and replicate them as best as you can within Jurassic World Evolution. You don't obviously have to be 100% perfect, because you're not going to quite get that in this game. So we'll do a mix of the normal plants. Kind of like, I do like trees. I do like these trees. So we'll do a mix of these, and then we'll add a few of the clamamites. I love clamamites. They just look so nice. I feel like they go with like a sort of watery kind of vibed area. I mean, I don't want to pull them just yet. I want to get my trees down. I was wondering why what was going on then. I was like, what? We're going to keep it on a smaller brush as well, just so it's kind of easier. This kind of, like, as well, this kind of build where you can keep it nice and simple kind of reminds me slightly of my my Delta build. Also, it's not quite the same. It's a Delta and a this is way different. It like kind of, I suppose it can kind of sort of meet in certain areas. I don't know if there is a case of that in the world, but they're not massively, yeah, they're not massively different, but it's just the way you do it makes it look completely different from that enclosure. Now I'm just going to try and add a sprinkling of these brushes here and there, because these clamamites, I feel they do look good in this kind of environment. Kind of gives it more of that river kind of feeling in a sense. Put that tree back. I want that tree. I thought it looked good there. And then we're just going to try and add it mainly to the banks. But yeah, it's looking rather nice. And like I said, I was trying to keep this as simple as possible so that anyone that's with the old generation consoles can even make this build and add it to their parks if they wish. Now, if you're making a Site B, this is going to be perfect, especially when leading up to more of getting closer to the ocean areas. Adds like a massive interest in point of interest in your builds. For rocks, we're going to keep it on these hilly bits here, because then it kind of like that shows that it's been kind of built up in that area, and that's why the water isn't like drilling all the way through it. It's why the land's a bit higher, because underneath all this dirt are even more rocks, which is what it's built up on. And again, it's just all that kind of storytelling, that environmental storytelling that you're adding to this. And yeah, it's just, and plus rocks are really nice. If you're having pterosaurs free flying, they'll come and land on these rocks, and you'll get some like interesting scenery. I'm doing it on random because it's just nice when you like not placing them all down yourself. I mean, like, if you don't have time, you don't want to be sat there, well, that rock looks better. You can always move it around, like that rock there being on that plant. I don't want the plant going through it, but I can do it like this, and it just looks. Now it definitely looks random rather than man-made place. And it got all these tall rocks which kind of break up the lines of sides. Again, will add interesting features to your screenshots. If that's the kind of thing you do. I love taking screenshots in this game. As you can probably tell, I have an Instagram where I place a lot of my screenshots that I get in this game, and there's a lot of other content creators out there that do tons of really nice screenshots, either using modded content or unmodded, and it's just nice. It's like a form of like almost paleo media, which is just interesting to go and look at, especially if you've got a little bit of time on your hands. I really do like this mountain right at the back. But also, I do my builds in these square-like shapes with a 4x4, just to display things a lot easier. Now, if you can do whatever you want, really. You can make this like a massive enclosure that goes all the way through, and you can have different sauropods, and like as a mixed herbivore enclosure. You can do a lot of different things with this type of like habitat, really. And that's it. It's like I said, this was quite nice, quite easy, quite simple. If you don't have a lot of time but you want something to look somewhat interesting and an interesting POI, this is the way to do it. And again, I did it with only brushes and only things that you find on the tropical map. And you can do the same with any other map, which if you want me to do it, I can show you on different environments how I'd make this kind of ecosystem. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it's giving you some inspiration. And as always, thank you for watching. Until next time, I'll see you later.